welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. Am I loud enough? I don't know. We'll see what happens by the end of the show. But I can tell you one thing. We got a new crew member here, and I'm glad to have him. Stephen Reichel. Welcome to the Inside the Pigskin. You're the latest legend that's going to join the big show. I got two underneath you, and Bo and Travis. And eventually you'll meet Mr. U, depending on how everything drops and everything. And, of course, we have Candy alongside as well. So, Steve, this is your debut show. Glad to have you, my friend. Let everybody know a little bit about you as well. You know, you have a great Twitter following, and more importantly, you're an avid Eagles guy. I want to know, let the audience know a little bit about you, and then we'll get to it.
Yeah, man. I'm, been basically a Philadelphia fan my whole life. Born and raised here, and not born in Philadelphia. Technically, I was born in Montgomery County, but I've been my whole life. Philadelphia, Germantown, North Philly, all over the place. I'm now in the upper Northeast. Been to so many different Eagles games, Phillies games, Flyers games. Things of that nature. It's I'm a Philly 4-for-4 guy. Technically 5-for-5 if you include the Philadelphia Union and the soccer team we got now. We'll see how see if they finally get over their championship hump soon. But basically about I think 2011 through 2012 was injured, out of work, just goofing around on social media. One of these guys I was going back and forth with was like, "Hey man, we'll jump on and do a podcast with me." And he about 6 months later he was burnt out, stressed out from life or whatever, but I had gotten the bug, so I'd kind of started several different iterations of combat sports shows over the years. Worked with a couple different media companies, A2D Radio, Belly Up Sports, what was that last one? Whatever. They were shitty guys. I don't want to remember them. But other than that, I just have a general love for sports in general, regardless if we're talking about football, if we're talking about baseball, if we're talking about MMA, combat sports, things of that nature. I got a general love for anything sports. It doesn't matter if it's Olympic level, doesn't matter if we're talking about amateur sports, collegiate sports, whatever. I dabble in a little bit of everything. So first and foremost, I just appreciate you guys having me on here, having some fun with you guys, and let's get the knowledge flowing, fellas.
Oh, we will. I got to tell you, one of my biggest fondest memories about Phillies fans is the Broad Street Bullies back in the 70s. Boy, when they beat the daylights out of the Russians, who on their right mind wouldn't root for Philadelphia Flyers to beat the Russians? Not getting it political. All you got to do is Google it.
I almost ran into them. I was lucky enough to get media credentials for Knucklemania, and Dave Feldman and them brought the Broad Street Bullies in for the event, and I think they gave Schulte a belt. I got Schulte's jerseys hanging up on the wall over here. So Broad Street Bullies is definitely a lifeline to most Philadelphia fans.
All right, well, we're going to break you in the right way because I got 2 or 3 Philly topics in here. One of them we're going to talk about is Eagles coach Nick Sirianni. He talked about Kellen Moore's value to his team and obviously what New Orleans could look for. What we're going to do right now before we comment on this is Candy go to the tape.
Okay, let me gear it up.
This is yours truly talking to him.
Congratulations, Coach, for getting back to the big game. I have a 2-part question. Number one, let's talk about your off-season moves with the coaching staff. You added Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. Tell me how you feel about the way those moves have worked out. And then the second part to that question is, how much has Kellen Moore meant to your offense, knowing full well that he may be on borrowed time, that he eventually will get a head coaching job?
Yeah. Obviously, both guys have meant a ton to us. Again, you can't be great without the greatness of others, coaches to players, players to coaches, coach to coach, player to player. And so both guys have done a phenomenal job. I think, I said this early in the year. I think we've hit, this was during that training camp, and to see the detail that they coach was obviously, I spent a lot of time with them, knowing the guys a little bit, and then in the interview process, and then also in OTAs. And I think we hit 2 home runs with those hires there. Anytime we're focused on this game. Kellen's focused on this game. I'm focused on this game. Not really thinking about anything else other than this game, because every little bit of attention that you put into something else is attention you're not putting into what the main goal is. And so, with Kellen, and I know that there's, opportunities potentially, what happens will happen. But hopefully I've done my job to teach him the things that I know and help him like other coaches have helped me, as far as that goes. But I know that when Kellen does get this opportunity, I think he's highly detailed in teaching the game of football. I think that he loves this game. He works extremely hard. He's got a great offensive mind to help our guys, put our guys in positions to succeed and get better. And man, he's a phenomenal person, great person to work with. That's so important, right? When we're spending more time with each other than we are with our families, our wives, our kids, it's important that you have good people around. And he, as good of a football coach as he is, he's an even better person. So got a lot of respect there, and for Kellen, and we'll see how that plays out at the end.
All right, there you have it. So, Steve, I'm going to ask you thoughts about the job Kellen Moore did in Philadelphia, and what kind of a head coach is he going to be in New Orleans? And everybody's going to have to answer the same question. Hey, good evening, Brian Bennett.
I basically looking at it like this. I think you were spot on sitting there when you asked the question that he was on borrowed time. I think most people who knew how good Kellen Moore was knew that if the Eagles did what they were supposed to do, that this was the most likely outcome, that he would finally get a shot at a head coaching gig somewhere else. A lot of us knew that was going to happen. And then when you have a guy like Kevin Patullo behind him, it's real easy to kind of just bring in a guy like Kellen Moore to just kind of help you get over the hump. I mean, Kellen Moore, after this season was the third different time he had a top 5 ranked offense with 3 different teams: the Cowboys, the Chargers, and the Eagles. And the Eagles were the one he finally gets the Super Bowl win, and the recognition that Kellen Moore probably should have gotten years ago. I mean, I felt after he took Dak Prescott in the Dallas Cowboys to a number 1 ranked offense, I thought it was for sure that he was going to get a head coaching gig somewhere. But, things didn't work out that way. But when you look at the overall picture, I mean, I think he's not in the greatest position with the Saints, but if they give him the reins the way he should, and give him a few years to kind of get them out of not just the roster hell they are, but they're in cap hell too. He has a mountain to climb down there in New Orleans. So I'll say your coach Sirianni already said it. Yeah, he's a better person on top of a coach. I think that the New Orleans Saints organization is getting a guy that could send them in the right direction. It's up to them if they make the right moves and right the ship in a certain way to get them to not only compete for that AFC and NFC South title, but to make deep playoff runs. So Kellen Moore is probably one of the more underrated offensive minds that we have in the league today, and we'll see what happens over the next few years with him in the New Orleans Saints.
Great stuff. All right, we'll turn over to you, Candy. You're there with me when I talked to Coach.
Yeah, I think like Steven said, we all knew it was a matter of time. It wasn't whether he was going to get a head coaching job. It was just a matter of when, and when the right fit. Now, is this the right fit? Hopefully for him. The problem with the NFL is they don't have patience with head coaches. So if he doesn't turn this around quickly, he could find himself not in the right position. But I think he can do it. I think he's got a very offensive mind. I hope he can get out of this growing. I mean, because like you said, he's got salary cap hell. He's got all of that. They need to give him patience. They can't just say, okay, you have 1 or 2 years to turn it around. It's going to take a little bit more than that to get there. Hopefully they will have the patience that they need. But yeah, I mean, the fact that Nick talked so highly of him as not just a coach, but as a person, because I think we all forget that, at the end of the day, those are NFL players. They're all people, and they need, somebody that can relate to them and yet still be a strong person that brings, his message and his way of doing things. That's one of the big things that'll change too, is will the Saints players that are already on the team, gear to him and mesh with him, I guess, is what, because there are some personalities that just don't mesh with others. So hopefully that isn't a problem in New Orleans.
Turn over to you, Travis.
So Kellen Moore was on my list of guys that I had the fortune to do the BigCatCountry.com deep dive on earlier this offseason, since he was on the list of guys the Jacksonville Jaguars were looking to interview for their open head coaching role. And I'm a little bit in between both Candy and Steve on this one, simply because Kellen's, yes, he's a great offensive mind when he has the dogs to run his offense, but also it's kind of hard not to be great at running an offense when you are better than, when your team is like roster wise, just realistically better than everybody else. Just going to be honest and say that that's kind of how it is. That's kind of how it was with Dallas, with this time in Dallas, and that's kind of how it was with Philadelphia. If your team 1-to-1 is just better than the other guys, you don't have to be that unique in your play calling. You don't have to be that fancy, because that was actually one of the bigger takeaways from a lot of the Philadelphia Eagles media that I spoke to throughout this season was Kellen was doing well, but also it was kind of bland. He just a lot of hitch routes, a lot of out routes, a lot of things that actually made it a little bit harder for Hurts. But they had the dominant running game. So I'm kind of like, I don't know, especially now you're faced with a situation with the New Orleans Saints, roster that he's going to have to kind of flip over and kind of do it in a fancy way, because they've been pushing that can down the road for very, very long with the salary cap. And now he's going to have to make some really tough decisions to try to win despite your roster situation, your cap situation. That's going to be a curious one for someone who doesn't have the head coaching experience and has not been able to truly succeed without having a stacked roster. Well, you're going to have to do it now. You're going to have to prove this on the field, buddy. Because this is it. So I'm kind of in between. It's like I think he's a very, very, very like a very high level offensive guy, a former quarterback who knows how to build a very simple offense for a quarterback. But how are you going to be situationally? How are you going to be when your team is equally matched with the other teams? Are you going to be able to put together a 500 team and win those one possession games? That's what I don't know.
Okay, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question, right? Is how he's going to be in situational football. Obviously, he can coach the offensive side of the ball. I mean, he was able to have the Chargers at 30 points a game despite having Brandon Staley as a head coach. So, I mean, and a guy that was sabotaging stuff constantly. So, I mean, I give Kellen a lot of credit there. But how he does with clock management, things like that, that'll be yet to be seen. And of course, like Steve said, going into New Orleans where they're in serious cap trouble, they have nobody on the roster. They're going to have less people on the roster here in about a week. So this is going to be an interesting situation. Brian in the chat there, 3-year max. I think he's going to get a little more latitude here because of the problem that this team has. Certainly year one is already just throw it away, right? They have nobody on the roster and they have no money to get anybody. Like, this is going to be a bad year for New Orleans fans. I think he's going to get a little bit more leeway, especially because Dennis Allen somehow kept his job as long as he did. He seemed like one of those guys that could have been fired after 5 games, but, it took him a couple of years. So I think Kellen Moore's going to have the ability to kind of ride out his contract to try and make this thing work. Because, again, I don't think anybody's expecting greatness year one.
If there's anybody under more pressure than Mickey Loomis, let me know. Because now he's got a coach that they're going to stick with. Number 2, as you recall, Derek Carr is also there. So what kind of mileage can you get out of this car? And being from the Motor City, I can use every car analogy I want to. And we'll see what kind of mileage you're going to get out of it. I have that right, being from the Motor City, to use those types of analogies. But more importantly, when you look at Kellen Moore, I like what you said that he managed to work through Brandon Staley. That's the key. So Mickey Loomis is gonna be under the microscope if I've ever seen an individual under pressure and winning despite Dennis Allen, no question about it. So everybody is on point on this whole thing. And I'm pulling for Kellen Moore. Mike McCarthy got rid of him. What do you think ends up happening? Went back to the same offense. So Mike McCarthy's out of a job. Go ahead.
I just realized you guys said he made it through Brandon Staley, but then he hired Brandon Staley as the defensive coordinator, didn't he?
Yeah,
In New Orleans?
so he did. There's a distinct difference though, because where Brandon Staley was coming up short was all of the management end of it. He was actually good as a DC. Now his defense suffered because of the.
I'm a Jaguars fan, bro. His team was good as a DC. Didn't we come back from like 27 against that defense?
No. So let me finish where I was going here. He was good as a DC. Where he hurt his defense was he was putting them in terrible situations all the time. Because on the offensive side of the ball, as the management end of it, he's going for it on fourth down on his side of the ball or his side of the field. He's going and making just asinine decisions that you could have the number one defense, but you know what? People are going to score if you turn the ball over on the 30.
Yeah, it's what you call an arena football league field. All right, well, we could talk about this topic all day long, but we're going to, since Travis is on the show, there's no better time to pull this topic out of our pocket. Urban Meyer was elected to the College Football Hall of Fame. Oh, my gosh. You know what, Steve?
He's going to love my response to this, I promise.
Oh, I have to give this one to Travis first, Steve. I really do. I have no choice. But here's the thing. Candy and I and Travis were at that 27-0 game. I think it was the last game I saw there. So you can do your little rant, Travis, that Urban Meyer made it to a show that you are on and making it to the College Football Hall of Fame because we know that he's in the Jacksonville Football Hall of Shame. All right, I'm going to turn over to Mr. Holmes.
No, man. I mean, let's be clear. Like, when you go from college to the big leagues or when you go from college to being an adult, it's like two different lifetimes. So I have to look at this Urban Meyer as a different Urban Meyer than the one we saw in the NFL. I'm going to try to be fair to the man and say this. Like, Urban Meyer in college is the GOAT. Urban Meyer in the NFL, oh boy, oh Lord. I mean, I don't even know what it is. He was so bad. Whew. But we're not talking about that guy. We're talking about college Urban. All right, college Herbs was generally, I say respected, but even then, I think I'm being full of it. All right, you know what? I'm full of it right now, y'all. I'm gonna be honest with you. All right, so
he won
Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer won a lot in college. He also won a lot on the backs of other people in college. Frequently. Rosters other people put together. He came in at the last minute, just basically gave some slight organization, maybe added one player and off to the races. And I'm able to try to label myself the champion because I was the right guy to come in and just kind of steal the show. That's really what it came down to. So it was in a lot of ways why he wasn't successful in the NFL was probably because he probably wasn't very good at building this thing in college. He just kind of happened to land in the right spots because, my heart hurt. You know, all those things. So it's... And then you get into the stuff with the Jaguars. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm trying not to bring up the NFL stuff. It's hard on me because, again, you don't get onto a plane. You're in a bar with the lady that's not your wife with your finger in there. Like, it's just, we got issues for sure. But nevertheless, congratulations, Herbs. You deserve it, I guess. Technically speaking, your resume says you deserve it. I guess you deserve it. But boy, Lord, I don't know what to say about this, man. Y'all take this from me.
Well, no, you know what? I think you said plenty. So let me add,
deserve it ever.
Yeah, let me add this though. Anytime you have Doug Peterson telling Trevor Lawrence, forget about your first year and start another year, you got a situation. I still like Doug Peterson.
Doug Peterson was the palate cleanser. Mm-hmm. That chaos and that mess with him and Trevor Lawrence, and that was the palate cleanser. That's how bad it was for Herbs. Like, that's the...
Doug was the rebound. I like it.
All right, well, with all this dialogue going, I got Steven here just absorbing it all in. So now that Steven's got his head bobbling like a bobblehead, he's looking every way. And I love this guy, this Steven Reich. So bring it to the house, my
All right,
Eagle.
first off,
But-
how are you going to praise
let me
me
just say
for
one
being?
thing. Let me say one thing. You know what we have in common, Steven?
What's that, brother?
You're a Philadelphia Eagle. I graduated from Lakeland High School, which were the Eagles. Okay, so there's a little bit. Okay, so there. Okay, so the floor is yours, Steven. I
All right,
see
so
you bouncing
let's
around.
get
I
into
love
this.
it, man.
Urban Meyer is now in the College Football Hall of Fame. How are you going to put this man in the College Football Hall of Fame? Let alone someone sit there and say one of the best collegiate coaches of all time when you still got Nick Saban running around. Stop. Don't ever sit there and say Urban Meyer is a Hall of Fame anything. What he should be, you got it right. Hall of Shame. He is the absolute worst NFL head coach we have seen in the past 30 years. No one can argue that. Collegiate Hall of Fame for what? As my man down there was saying, he cleaned up everyone else's messes. He made his name off of everyone else's back. His players are at the top of that list, making their names off of their back. Stop playing with me. Collegiate Hall of Fame. Stop.
I knew this was the right show to bring you on, man. Wait a minute.
Tim Tebow literally got a tryout for the Jaguars because of Urban Meyer.
Yes.
Stop playing with me. College Hall of Fame.
I knew this was the right show. Any show would get you on, but I had to get you going. Let me tell you this, okay, Steven? Here, hold on, Steven. First of all, if anybody belongs in the College Football Hall of Fame, it's Howard Schnellenberger. But because those stupid rules are so idiotic that you don't have program builders in there, this record isn't good enough to get in there. I ought to know because I work with Coach Schnellenberger, and he was a father figure to me. But Urban Meyer in the Hall of Fame because you coach the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Florida Gators. First of all, Florida's great recruiting fertile ground, and we all know you should be able to recruit in Ohio State. What he did in Utah, Bowling Green, or wherever he's from, that's a different story. But I'm with you, Steven. This guy doesn't belong here, but college criteria is way different than anything I've ever seen. Seriously, really, seriously, or is it Candy the other way around? Really, seriously, really.
They just handed it out.
I'm telling you, Steven, this is what we do every week. We go crazy, but we have fun doing it. All right, Bo, I know we've stepped all over you all over the place. You want to find a way to get in the middle of all this mess, or is this like an Oreo cookie with all the sweet stuff inside? Because I knew Travis was going to blow a gasket on this one. And when he said that he was committing to come on the show, I would put Urban Meyer in there because of you. See, Travis, don't think I don't think about your brother, because you know what? I miss you up there in Jacksonville, but I'm glad I got you on this show. Great stuff, bro.
Yeah, no,
Really.
this is just all cookie. Like, there's nothing in the middle. Like, Urban Meyer is just a terrible human. So, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, his win record, 100% gonna be in the Hall. You can be a douche and get in if your record is good enough, right? And that's true whether you're a coach, a player, owner, doesn't matter, right? That being said, I don't know that I would keep it as he's the worst coach in the last 30 years. I mean, I would say maybe all time. It was bad in every possible way. So, I mean, you know, if you're not first, you're last, right? So he just went all in on being last.
Yeah, it's him and Bobby Bonilla. That's it.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time Shad Khan fired a coach in his first year. I can see him doing it in season. But you know what, Candy? I have a feeling you're the only one on this panel that's not going to lose their voice and go ballistic because you're a relaxed type of individual. But I could be wrong. And look at all this stuff that Brian Pettit is putting up in the chat room. Great stuff. Keep it up, Brian. You're going to be on the air before it's all said and done. All right, Candy, the floor is yours about Urban Meyer.
Okay, so Travis, like you said, you have to take the NFL out of this. You have to, because this is college. We're not talking NFL. We're talking college. He's not in the NFL Hall of Fame. His career as a college coach, 182 and 32. 187 and 32. Records over 17 seasons at Bowling Green, Utah, Florida, and Ohio State. He won 22 of 24 games at Utah before taking over at Florida, where he won national titles in 2006 and 2008. He landed at Ohio State in 2012, won another championship in year 3, and went 83-9 over 7 seasons with the Buckeyes. You can't argue that. And yes, you can say that he did it on other people's backs, but as a head coach, that's your job. You're supposed to recruit and get the big name guys. That's your job, is to bring championships to the school that you are coaching for. Now, is he a good human being? No. I will not argue that at all. But some of you, and they talked about it last night on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, about should Pete Rose be in the Baseball Hall of Fame? There's another one that's a character issue, that do you put him in or do you not put him in? So we can argue back and forth whether he should be in the College Hall of Fame or not. His stats say yes. And that's literally what most of the time comes down to.
Unless, of course, you're Gary Sheffield, where your stats say absolutely you should be in the Hall of Fame. And
Correct.
Instead, because you're kind of a jerk, you're not.
And Stephen, one last point. Your point to Nick Saban. Nick Saban does not have the same winning percentage as Urban Meyer does. Urban Meyer actually has a higher winning percentage by 50 percentage points.
Culture means everything.
See, we got Candy a little more animated. My goodness, really, I knew that Urban Meyer was a hot topic, but we get her to be animated. But you know what, Candy? Here's what you get to do, because we got Mr. Philadelphia on here. We're going to talk about Darius Slade. Do you think he can wind that back with the Detroit Lions? Play the recording, Candy. We'll find out, and we can all formulate our own opinion on it.
And to make a play on it.
I always like guys from Detroit, man.
Yeah.
I really do. I love Detroit originally. Hated to see you go.
Oh, man.
I'll get into that in a moment. But the reality is how is life treating you here in Philadelphia?
Life's been great, man, in Philly, man. I appreciate the fans. I appreciate this organization. Everybody willing to take me in. I'm thankful for the coaches here. I've been here 5 years, captain 3 of the years, so it's been a blessing, man. So I think to be a part of the organization.
Let me ask you a quick Lions question. How do you like the way that the culture has changed under Dan Campbell? And I'm going to give you something to laugh about. I just fired a podcaster who was too abrasive when he called Matt Patricia. You can laugh at it. He did, but it was okay. It's all about humor, okay?
Yeah.
And he's gone. But let's talk about Dan Campbell, and the fact of the matter is that he changed the culture in Detroit.
He did a great job, man. There's one thing about I can see with coaches, to make a successful coach, I guess you got to get guys to buy in. And I'm thankful that he made that team over there buy in. And when that team bought in, you see it. And they did it through the draft process. You know what I'm saying? So they got guys that's willing to learn, that's coming on the one wing. And you know what I'm saying? So they do a great job. I like what Dan Campbell's doing over there, man. I know everybody was going laughing and giggling when he was talking about biting kneecaps, but I understood where he was coming from. Like, he wanted you to just sacrifice, for them a couple months to be the best you could be, and it's been paying off.
Now, Zach Bond told me he wanted to see the Commanders in a rematch, but I'm talking to Darius Slade Jr., okay? So, in the back of your mind, did you want an opportunity to have a crack at the Detroit Lions in the playoffs?
Oh, man. I mean, see, the thing is, I'm a big Lions fan as well. I'm a Lions and Eagles fan, so I wanted the Lions to win so we could play them, but then again, I did want to spank them too. But, you know what I'm saying, so it was back and forth. I was willing to play anybody, but I low-key did want to play the Washington Commanders because, I wanted to spank on them too.
Well, and lastly, nobody can tell what the future holds, and I'm not going to go there. But I'm sure in the back of your mind that Detroit's a special place, and it wouldn't probably bother you in the back of your mind if it were something down the road, such a situation as Texas.
I mean, if it ever presents itself, it could possibly happen, but if it don't, it don't. But I'm always going to be thankful for that organization because that was the first organization to believe in me. I gave them 7 great years. I appreciate every fan base around there, so that's always going to be my second home. So I'm always going to have a lot of ties there.
Well, nothing but the best for you, Darius Slay. I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
So, Slay, I grew up a Cowboys fan.
All right, so there you have it, Mr. Resident Philadelphia guy. You heard it from Darius Slay. He's a cat.
First off, I'm going to correct you. You won't call him Darius anything. He's either big play Slay or Slay. He said this to many, many reporters. I'm glad he didn't hit you with it. So
that's okay.
let me go there first. I did have the pleasure of meeting him at a couple signings over his 5 years here. Got some photos with him. Got a couple autographs. He's awesome, dude. Awesome, dude. Him and his wife are literally forever enshrined in this community. Dude, I don't know if you know, his wife would go to the tailgates. She would take a banana pudding down there. She would do all kinds of stuff. They are, regardless of what happens moving forward, they are a part of the culture here in Philadelphia, and they are beloved here, regardless of what happens. Obviously, the news came out over the last few days of his release. It's going to happen on at the beginning of June when everything goes down. There's also been said that he could be brought back. That anything's possible as far as that goes.
Right.
Detroit obviously is going to be at the top of his list now that he's officially a free agent. I think people also should watch out to the fact that he did almost sign a contract with the Baltimore Ravens last year. Mm-hmm. So I still think they're another sleeper team that could be involved. You never know. There could be a team like the Bengals that want to step up and compete with some teams. I think that it's really interesting to see what could happen. But I still think when everything's said and done, it's either going to be Detroit or Philly, wherever he's going to play for his last season. I hope that we get him to come back here a little bit cheaper than what his number was going to be this season, and continue to have that coach vibe that he has with the young corners here. I think people really underestimate some of the stuff that James Bradbury and Big Play Slade did with those young corners. Right. I think that's also a main reason why they let Darius go, because how well that they brought Quinyon Mitchell along. You got Cooper DeJean there. No one's talking about. You still got Kaylee Ringo there. You still got Eli Ricks there. You could still bring back an Isaiah Rodgers. The Eagles have options there at cornerback, and they are deep there. Where we were talking 2 years ago, where it's been an interchangeable guys outside of Darius Slay for a while. Okay. So it's an interesting thing, but if I'm a betting man, I'm going to say he retires in Detroit, as much as I want him to come back here for another year in Philadelphia.
Great stuff, Steve. Appreciate it. Okay, Travis, what are your thoughts?
I mean, a lot of what Steve's saying, he's hitting the right on the head, as I would expect the Philadelphia resident to get it. Yeah, but no, he's on it, man. At the end of all of this, like, this move was made because of those young guys, those young dogs he had behind him, like Keely Ringo, their maturation, Quinyon Mitchell. We've already talked about what was a nickelback. Goodness gracious, Cooper DeJean. Cooper DeJean. Cooper DeJean and the Great White Hope. Now we've seen him show up. And they also had Isaiah Rodgers, because before he was suspended, you have to presume that they're going to try to lean in on that. But nevertheless, Philadelphia has kind of always done this. This is the way that they operate, even with the exploding salary cap. Like, they move on from the older guys and they keep drafting these young guys, developing them for a year, and then they just move on. They did the same thing with Fletcher Cox. They did it with Jason Kelsey. They did it with Hassan Reddick, and they just replaced them with younger versions of the next guys, and they just keep this machine rolling. That's what they do. It's a great process. I need all teams to do the same thing. Nevertheless, if you're talking about Slade, like, where's he going to land? Like, Detroit would be a pretty solid option for him, especially if you guys can get Hutchinson back, full strength, with a full one leg, that'd be great. But also, like, a team that's going to have a dominant pass rush similar to the Eagles, because it's always curious how good a defensive back is. You grade how good a defensive back is by how good their pass rush is, for the most part. Like, I'm a DB, I love cornerback play. And that's my big thing, is if you have a dominant pass rush, the DB is always going to look great. Hopefully the Detroit Lions are someone, that's maybe on that radar. But if it's not, then someone like Baltimore makes total sense, to your point, Steve, because, again, it's somebody else with a dominant pass rush. And this guy's obviously going to want to be trying to win a Super Bowl. So that makes total sense to me.
I'll turn over to Bo.
Yeah, I mean, not a ton to add there. I mean, they had two drafts back to back where they brought in, a bunch of a national championship teams. So, I mean, you would expect them to, accelerate their growth quick, right? Because they've been in big moments. So, at the end of the day, Slay is getting old in football years, right? He's 34, right? 33, 34, something like 34. That. So I mean, realistically, he's gonna twilight somewhere that needs him. He's probably done on a championship caliber team, and he'll get to pull the plug whenever it is he wants. People will give him, some of the worst teams will give him a shot for a while. But as far as landing on championship caliber teams, this was probably it. It's unfortunate because football is the way it is, but good to see him go out on top, get a ring.
Okay. All right, Candy. And then we're going to go to the chat room a little bit, acknowledge these people. We have a few more topics we're going to get to, as well as the station break. So, well, first of all, JD Wyatt, good communicating with Brian Petty's in your neck of the woods anyway. Brian, you're awesome. Thanks for showing support. Defense has to be in total sync, right, Travis? From pass rush to coverage.
Yep.
And then we'll go back to Brian. Question to you guys. What do you think about Deebo Samuel going to Washington? We'll make it very quickly. I want to get some other things in there, but we'll make it quickly. All right, we'll start off with you, Bo. What do you think about Deebo going to Washington?
I mean, I think it's great for Deebo and great for Washington. The fact that they only got a fifth out of him is wild. But, what that does mean is trade talks for DK are probably real quiet now. If you're getting guys like Deebo for a fifth, those guys that all went different places last year for maximum a third, I don't think Seattle gets rid of DK for, what receivers are going for now. But no, I think it's a great fit for Deebo in Washington because he doesn't have to play running back, right? Like he gets to go out there and actually be a receiver the whole time. And like they'll do some gimmicky packages, but he's not going to have to take significant snaps there. So I think he's going to love that fit.
Okay. All right. Anybody else real quickly want to talk about Candy? We haven't forgotten about you on Darius Slay. You're going to get the last word, then you go to a station break. Anybody else real quickly on Deebo?
I think Deebo was always going to be worth more to San Francisco than he was going to be worth to any other team. In the ways that they wanted to use him. So like, it's going to be interesting how Washington ends up wanting to use him because they have I don't know how to describe it. Let's just call it a quirky offense. Like it's a different sort of offense. It's absolutely a college offense in very many ways. I would consider it more like Boise State because they're doing a lot of stuff that you generally don't see in the NFL that's going to last long, I should say. So a lot of the run options, a lot of the RPOs, that's fine. But a lot of the spread, a lot of the running quarterback, just those kinds of things you generally don't see them for too long. So having a tool like Deebo that's then able to get the ball quickly, kind of run, and they love doing the screen game. They love a lot of passes around the line of scrimmage. Makes total sense as long as Deebo stays healthy, which has been a historic issue because he hasn't played a full season in his entire career. That's a big piece. So that's probably why you're only going to get a 5th round pick, and he's only had one good season. Also,
I'll say this much. They got him for what they got him for because Washington was willing to pay the majority of the contract. And I'll add this much more to it. You already touched on the injury fact. I can't wait to smack him up twice a year.
That's funny. All right, Candy. First of all, you can comment on Darius Slay, and then you can get your 2 cents in on Deebo, and then we'll go to a station break. Great stuff, JD. Great stuff, Brian. Those are good questions. Glad you put them in there. All right, Candy, you got 2 things to talk about. And then you go out there and go to a station break. 3 more topics to get to. I want to make sure that we get to Saquon Barkley before Bo has to go. And then there'll be 2 more topics after that. Go ahead, Candy.
So Darius Slay, it was great meeting him. It was great listening to him talk and stuff. He does have obviously a loving for Detroit. Do I see him going back there? Sure. Go for it. I mean, he is getting up there in age, but he can then help some of these rookies that that Detroit has brought in, and like the Hutchinsons, and he can help be a leader. That's where I really think he shines, is in that locker room and on the defensive side, is as a leader and as kind of as a teacher. And but kudos to his career so far. And the Eagles released him. He did good. Who knows where we'll see him? As a Packer fan, do I really want him in Detroit? I'm not sure, but hey, it is what it is. So, but it was great, really meeting him and talking to him. That was cool. As far as Deebo going to Washington, like everybody has said, are some athletes that are injury prone. And let's face it, the Mavericks have had problems with that lately on the NBA side. Hopefully.
I don't want to hear about injury pro. We got Joel Embiid here in Philadelphia. Stop playing with
that too. I could say that too, but there are
That was good.
some players are just like that. So hopefully he can stay healthy because that's, the name of the game. But another weapon for Washington.
Yeah, but I mean, even if he gives you 8 to 10 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's your third option.
I'll just say this much. I'm never going to get Steven started on Matt Patricia because the Lions had to deal with him. We'll save that for another show, Steven, because we got to make
sure we'll go for it.
Oh, we will. Oh, let me tell you.
I'll counter you with Rich Kotite.
Oh, well, that's good. You're good. And by the way, you know what, Bo? You better, and Travis, I know you're on Blue Sky more these days, but you better get this guy's contact information on Twitter because this guy is absolutely amazing. All right, Candy, go to a station break. We're going to go to Saquon, Barkley, and Bo. I know you have a hard out at 9:15, so I want to make sure we get the cream of the crop topics on. Not that the other ones aren't good, but since we have Mr. Broad Street Bully on here with us, we got to make sure that we're giving him some brotherly love on this show with the full deck here. All right, go ahead, Candy. Go to a station break.
Hey, South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. It talks about his 40-plus years in the industry and how it has changed, old school media versus new school media. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can find a plethora of great information, so go check it out. We also have a merchandise store in there as well. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you see the red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, click it, like us, share us with all your friends and family. And as well as all of our panelists, go to their YouTube channels, which they will talk about later on in the show, and subscribe to their channels as well and support them. And if you want to be on a show, or if you have show ideas or topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And if you want to be a sponsor or advertise with us, call Scott 954-304-4941. Back to the show.
Okay, Saquon Barkley, but Bo's going to get first digs on this one. Gets a contract extension, $41.2 million. NFL's first tailback to earn over $20 million per season. The deal includes $36 million fully guaranteed at signing. So, all right, Bo, what's your take on the contract with Saquon Barkley?
Yeah, I mean, the 2 times in his career he had a good offensive line, he doesn't get hurt, shows out. You pay that man. You stack him behind arguably one of, if not the best offensive line, and all of a sudden you have a guy that is incredibly shifty and an elite runner, not getting hit by 6'5", 350-pound Samoan guys. He's taking on linebackers. All of a sudden, guess what? He stays healthier. It's crazy. So yeah, I don't mind him getting paid at all.
All right, you know what, Bo? What I'm going to do is, since we have 2 other topics, I'm going to let you address them right now, and then you're going to put your information out there so that Steven and Travis will have it as well. I know you and him have it. So what are your thoughts about Matthew Stafford taking $100 million less to stay with the Rams, Bo?
Yeah, I think he realized he was going to go somewhere where he was not going to end his career. He was probably going to end his ability to walk upright. So, he is not somebody that can run around. Right? He needs to go somewhere that has a great offensive line. The places that we're going to let him come there have everything but that. Like he was going to get ran over. If you are a Stafford, if you're a Cousins, if you're that type of guy and you're this late in your career, you better stay somewhere where you have some protection. So it made all the sense in the world for him to stay. And based on the people that were interested, he was going to get hurt.
All right, lastly, Bo, Indianapolis Colts announced that they're the designated team for the 2025 NFL Burlingame. Some thoughts on that, Bo?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter who you send, right? Like they're going to send bad teams because it's the only game over there. It's going to sell out regardless. So it can be the worst game, the worst product possible, but because there's only one and everybody's going to come from the areas around, it's going to sell out anyway. So, I mean, the Colts are going, yeah, okay. I mean, it could have been the Titans. It could have been, sorry, Travis, the Jags. Like it could have been any low-hanging fruit because they're not going to send their best games over there. I see you. It's cool.
Low-hanging fruit.
But, I mean, it's not a championship caliber team is my point. And,
All right.
so it's, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's what the international games tend to be is they know it'll sell out. So we haven't been sending our best product. When they first started doing the international games, they sent good product over there. They were trying to grow the sport in a way. Now everybody's excited to go anyway once they're finally there. So they don't care who they send.
Okay, Bo, why don't you let everybody know how to get a hold of you? Pay attention, Stephen. I got a thoroughbred with these two guys, and you'll be able to make contact. Of course, you'll be on shows together as well. So, but Bo, I know you have a hard out at 9:15, so make sure you get all your stuff in there. We got all the topics so you didn't miss anything. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you can find me on Tuesday evenings most of the time here on Inside the Pigskin, 5 days a week on Roku TV, and of course my YouTube channel right there on the screen at Football-Talk. All the socials, Football Talk with Bo.
So there you go, Stephen. You got a new friend here. He has a YouTube channel. It's pretty incredible, and knowing this guy, he'll have you on before long. Bo has been my co-host for a long time in the show. If you the thing, Steve, which is important about how we do things, we are all a loyal family here, right, Travis? We are all family, and that's what we try to bring here. Bo and Travis have been with me for a while. I met Travis up at the Jaguars game. Bo has been with me all the way, and we can get into the list of other people. You'll meet them as we go along. So, Bo, thanks a lot for being on. I know you have another show shortly. I just want to make sure you had ample time to talk about the topics and the other stuff. And I look forward to seeing you, I think not next week, but the week after. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't know that I'll be here next week. Might still be traveling. So,
okay. Well, no problem. Just keep me posted. But meanwhile, Bo, thanks for being on the broadcast. And we'll be in touch. You were fantastic tonight. And now you know why I was raving about Steven, right? I think this guy comes as advertised.
Absolutely. Good to meet you. Take it easy, everybody.
Thanks. So now there are 4. Okay, now I can breathe a little easier. I had to make sure Bo got all the hay. So we all know the topics. Now we're going to go to Mr. Steven here and talk about Saquon Barkley.
We get down to 4. We got 4 more years of the Quan. It's over.
There you go. Look at this guy.
And as Bo was saying, one of the best. No. The Philadelphia Eagles have the best offensive line in football. Want to know why? Let's see. What happened over the last 3 years? Oh, that's right. Each one of the running backs that's played for the Philadelphia Eagles has ran for over 1,000 yards. Miles Sanders, who's now dying in the third running back on the Carolina Panthers, he ran for 1,000 yards. DeAndre Swift, he's a Bear now. He ran for 1,000 yards. You put Saquon Barkley in front of a good offense, like he said, he ran for 2,000. So what do you think's going to happen when you got the best right tackle in football, Lane Johnson? There's no question about that. You have Jordan Mulatto on the other side, who wasn't even playing football 7 years ago. The 2 best tackles in football, right there. Let's not forget that Mr. Jason Kelsey picked his replacement, and he started at I think 9 games at right guard the season before he took over the job. You have Landon Dickerson who does nothing but maul guys. He's arguably the one of the better unspoken left guards in this league. You have the best offensive line. So yes, you go and pay Saquon Barkley to be the highest paid running back in NFL history. Yes, you go and do that, especially because the man's in his prime. He's not going nowhere. Not only that, he's arguably one of the best teammates you could ever ask for in a running back. He could have absolutely destroyed the New York Giants and broke the single game rushing record. What did he do? Let the young boys eat. Go let Will Shipley play. Go let Kenny Gainwell play. That dude is something special, not just on the field, but off the field. When everyone was freaking out over the offensive pass interference against A.J. Brown, who was on the sidelines telling everyone to calm down. Oh, that's right. It was Saquon Barkley. He more than earned that contract. He more than earned the incentives. He's going to be the highest paid running back in the NFL. He's changed the landscape of what running backs are. They're not surprised. I just say it's going to be a rough time for New York Giants fans. That's all I got to say.
Well, all I'll say is his road to Philadelphia went through I-95, and I've traveled that road an awful lot of times in Florida, and I had an opportunity on the East Coast. All right, Travis, what's your response to Mr. Steven here about Saquon?
All right, cool. So, I don't know. This is a fun one because he absolutely did deserve it. He deserved the contract that he got, and he played for an offensive line. To Steven's point, that was one of the best, if not the best, in the NFL. Factually, that is accurate. I can't hate on that. I can't hate on that take, even if I know you support the team. But Saquon has an injury history that makes this deal a little bit problematic. Can we be real about that? Like, can we just be honest about this? Because one good season, I'm a fan of a team that extended someone last offseason, Tyson Campbell, a cornerback for the Jaguars. And I was pounding the table like, no, I need to see him be healthy again because I don't know, this is not going to end well. And he immediately got hurt in training camp following it. And I was just like, I keep telling you, you cannot do this on a 1-year sample size when you have 8 years to work with that says this dude has some soft tissue injuries that you might want to just be a little cautious of. But I will acknowledge, at least in this situation, hey man, the Eagles have been doing this whole void year, push to buck down the road, salary cap thing. They have the freedom from their owner to do this, and it's been helping them so much in building their roster in the right way. I'll give them credit on this. They know the salary cap's going to increase like significantly this offseason. We've already heard the reports come from all the NFL guys talking about this, and they use that time to pay him this extra money because they're not going to really feel the impact of it. From a financial stance, from an accounting point of view, it's perfect timing. It's very smart team building. And if they're wrong, they're only going to be a little bit wrong as far as how they feel the impact because the money is kind of free money. It's almost like free money in that way. So I give them credit on that. But I do have the concerns, holistically at least, if we get into training camp or we get into week 1 and your boy got a high ankle sprain or a soft tissue hamstring injury, y'all gonna be looking like, I knew I shouldn't have gave him that money, and that's kind of why I'm a little iffy on this one.
I still think it's funny people's trying to throw this injury thing around. Well, what are we talking about? I seen him get so banged up this year. There was times he just jumps right back up, man. He stopped playing. He is in the best physical shape of his life. Not only, and the contract is great, they just dumped $7 million more for this season to be able to go sign more guys. I don't want to tell you. I don't think Howie Roseman done it. Y'all better watch out.
When you say somebody's in the best shape of their life, I automatically think that sounds like something somebody old who's about to get injured says. Because every time you hear somebody say, I'm in the best shape of my life, they get injured like a week later. Like that's the comments you hear every offseason from these guys, man.
You know the best part about being a host? I get to watch all this stuff. I really do. That is pretty cool stuff. Now, the only thing I'm going to say about Saquon Barkley is it reminds me of Barry Sanders, because Barry Sanders is unselfish, didn't care about the rushing title, and that's pretty much what you alluded to, Steven. All right, Candy, while she's absorbing all this in his last, go ahead, Candy, give me your thoughts about Saquon Barkley, one of the few people we didn't have a chance to talk to, even though we talked to a lot of people, because this guy was mobbed over at the Super Bowl.
So I'm gonna bring in a little of Mel Farr Jr. into this. Mel would be dancing in the streets saying that the running backs, it's time that they get paid because they have been devalued. So yes, JD Wyatt, to your question, is value coming back to the running backs? Just a year ago, we saw so many greats get let go. And how many of those greats did better this year? You had a bunch of them. And let's face it, when we talk about wide receivers or running backs, who touches the ball more often? And Mel has talked about this numerous times. A running back catches the ball and he has to run with the ball. And he pass blocks and does a whole lot more. So the value of the running backs needs to be at least aligned. I'm not saying necessarily they're gonna surpass, but it needs to be more in line. And yes, Steven, you are right. Lane Johnson, where did he go to college? What school did he graduate from? Where is he from?
Hmm.
Yes, Wisconsin. Wisconsin has been known to produce very good offensive linemen. At least they were in the past. Now, granted, we have this new coach that has a new philosophy. Not sure it's quite the same level as it was, but yes, I do agree. Offensive line for a running back is key. So kudos to Saquon, though. I mean, from what obviously we didn't get to talk to him. There was so many people around him. He was mobbed. But from what I heard and listened to him talk and speak, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. And he deserves this. I like the fact that they put incentives on some of these contracts now, and more so. Because to Travis's point, you get injured, obviously then you can't make those incentives. But the incentives are carrots out there dangling for them to want to achieve and help push them to achieve them. That's what I like about some of these incentive contracts.
Well, you don't have to.
He hit every one of them this offseason. Every incentive that was put in his contract, he hit. I don't think that's ever happened.
Well, and you know what? He'll hit him again. But you know what? J.D. Wyatt just hit you with a follow, Travis. So pay attention to J.D. Wyatt on your Twitter account. When you get back on there, you just got another follow because of your ways. All right, we're going to try to tone it down, but I had to put the fireworks up on these Philly topics because I knew they were hot tamales. I got Mr. Steven. No worries,
well,
Steven.
I'm looking forward to the next time we see Mel because I would like us to rebroach this conversation because I personally don't know if the running back value is coming back yet. But I would love to have his fire on there to have that conversation.
See, Steven, here's the thing. I'm not a big musician, okay, fan, but as Karen Carpenter would say in her song, we've only just begun. But you don't want to hear me go ahead and sing because I'll break a memory X class. So we'll leave it at that. Yeah, just wait.
Just begun.
But let me tell you, I live for the Carpenters. I really do. Karen Carpenter, God, beautiful shit. Yeah, all right, Travis. You guys can rub it in. I know I'm not a very good. And you know what? Brian just gave both of you guys a follow. So look at this stuff here. Brian, I'm telling you, seriously, really. Oh, I got to get it right. I made a stupid head over it. I got to get the right names in order. All right, we're going to tone it down to a couple of easy topics because I went out and turned July 4th into March 4th with all these topics and bring in Steven. And you know what, Steven? Just wait till you come on every week. I got plenty more of my bag of tricks, brother. All right. So, a couple more other topics that nobody has to lose their voice over. We're going to Indianapolis announces the designated team for the 2025 NFL Berlin game. What are your thoughts, Steven?
I think Bo is spot on. I think they've already enriched the that European market with the good teams, and you're probably just gonna get a shake of the bag and be like, the New York Giants, the Indianapolis Colts, we're good to go. Now where are they sending all the good teams? Oh, the new places. Like go look at what happened this beginning of the season. Eagles in Green Bay and Sao Paulo. They already said not this year, but next year the Eagles are going to kick it off in Australia. Oh, isn't that weird? I have a good feeling that you're probably going to see Jordan Mailata, and we'll probably get the Washington Commanders for that game. I guarantee it.
Well, let me tell you, before you go any further about Australia, because I know you haven't known me that long, that's a future topic. So don't let too many cats out of the bag on that one. And now because you said it, I might be forced to use it next week so you can elaborate. So it's okay, Steven.
Let's do it.
A beautiful thing. I'm going to tell you, I'm on the media distribution list for NFL Communications. I get all this. Why do you think you're out there retweeting it and sharing it? Because I get it from them and I send it to you, brother. It is a good thing.
There's no off season in the NFL. They always say there is, but as far as us media members, there is no off season. There's always plenty of stuff to talk about.
Why do you think we run a football show year round, Steven? Seriously, really? That's because I got guys like you, Bo. I got guys like Travis. I got Mr. U. I got all these people here, and they all have personalities. And for as long as I got a voice, I'm going to make sure that there's never a dull moment on here. All right. With that said, Travis, what are your thoughts about the Indianapolis Colts, one of your favorite teams, going out to Berlin? Of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars have had their number, so you got to be a little nice with them. Yeah, I'm being sarcastic.
One of my favorite teams. I got you. Yeah, I picked up on it. Trust me. No, we talked about this one We talked about this one on some level when we a few weeks back. It might have even been a month ago when we originally talked about the other teams, in London, and this kind of came up in that same conversation. Not specifically Berlin, but it's just like they keep emerging in these new markets. The NFL wants to be global. They know where the money is, and they also know, hey, if you put these bad teams in these places where if you put these bad teams in these bad games, it's going to be the Colts versus, let's just say, some terrible team. I don't know, the Bears.
Arizona.
It's going to be, yeah. It's going to be one of those games where they know it's not going to sell out anyways, but it will absolutely sell out there because it's like going to a Spirit Halloween. Like it's going to be packed there. It's going to be packed like a fairgrounds because this is something that's different for them. It's something that's novel there. Like I fully understand it from their perspective. Like the Jaguars have been able to do in London historically. Doesn't matter if they're good. It doesn't matter if they're bad. It's going to be a sold out event, and the NFL team who was designated as the home team is going to get 15 to 25% more on the ticket prices. They're going to actually be able to pocket that. And Shad Khan let us know that the Jacksonville Jaguars owner, that the London games helps them on the actual money that they're bringing in over a home game. So overall, good for the NFL, good for the Colts, I guess. And go Jaguars. I don't know.
All right, Brian Pettit, just so you know, here's your homework assignment to get on this show because this is the cream of the crop. And we have a lot of great shows here. Here's what you need to do to get on here. And I know because of you're going to work at it because I get a lot of text messages and love chatting with you. Don't worry, Steven, you're on my short list of texts, but I like having fun with you on Twitter. So I go either way. Brian, here's your homework assignment. Get us some more subscribers, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Steven's YouTube channel, and Bo, but especially we get him on here. Then I'm going to put you on this.
And Travis.
And Travis.
I mean, wait a minute. I got a YouTube channel too.
I said that, didn't I? Oh, whatever. Well, let me finish. Hold it.
That's me in the comments. The Duval Dive is I.
All right. Well, I didn't know about Duval Dive being a YouTube channel. I just showed you my Alzheimer's is kicking in. Whatever. So let me start all over again. Okay, Brian. Here's your homework assignment, my brother. Subscribe to Duval Dive. Steven, tell this guy what your YouTube channel is.
Basically, one of my old sponsors from an old program I used to work on, wanted to kind of put things together and help grow. He has a cannabis T-shirt brand. Obviously, I'm wearing the Just Blaze 215 T-shirt today. It's basically look up Just Blaze clothing or Team Blaze, and it should pop right up. If not, the link to it's in my bio on Twitter as well.
So there you go. So Brian, go to him. Now that you followed this guy, subscribe to his, subscribe to Travis and Bo's, and then I have the Uno, Dos, Tres. That's all the Spanish I know anyway. Subscribe to them all. You'll be out there, but you got to make sure you subscribe to ours so we have more people in the chat room so we can put you on the spot inside of all this crossfire that we have so much. Look at this. Go. I think you meant got it. That's great stuff. Really? Seriously? All right, Candy. Let's go to your thoughts on the international game. Then we're going to wrap it up with Matthew Stafford. Brian, you're great. And of course, it doesn't hurt that your name is spelled Bryan, which, just so FYI purposes, my middle name is spelled the same way. All right, Candy. One more topic to roll after this.
So the Indianapolis Colts will play a regular season game in Berlin, Germany's Olympic Stadium. And it was the first NFL regular season game played in Berlin and the Colts' first home game outside of the United States. It's in Olympia Stadium, Berlin, which hosted 4 NFL Olympic games from 1990 to 1994. The NFL can schedule up to 8 league-operated regular season games internationally starting this year. Other games we know that are going to be played at London and Madrid. The Colts have a connection to Germany because former NFL player Bijan Werner played for the Colts from 2013 to 14, and he's a native of Berlin. So, but the NFL, they're marketing internationally. Let's face it, they're trying to keep growing and growing and growing. They're doing it better than any of the other sports, I would say. The only other sport maybe would be NHL, because what they have, like their 4 nations and doing what they just did, that was brilliant, I think, too. So
they hit that on the head. I was talking about that on my show. when you look at it, at everything, not only the games, but everything that happened afterwards, like how everyone received it, the booing of the national anthem, the fights that happened. And then even when you have the media blitz afterwards, PK Subban absolutely destroying the NBA superstars, and he was spot on. He was spot on.
Correct.
The international game is something that I think all 4 major sports can benefit from if they do it right. And I think the NFL is tapping into that. The NHL, what I would say, has a slight leg up on the other major fours, but I think it's going to be something you're going to see a lot more. Obviously, the NFL has the brand, the marketing, everything to make any international venture successful.
I agree. The only thing I will say is I do not want to see the Super Bowl in any place besides the USA.
All right, so back to Brian Petty.
I agree.
Back to Brian Petty added you guys, so there you go. How about that? A couple more subscribers headed your way. Beautiful. I told you, this is unbelievable. Last topic of the night. I don't want to go out there and drive Travis crazy because of the time, but at least we don't have 9 million people interfering with our head. This is just a very candid, crazy conversation, which I know feeds into Travis, because the more I feed this guy, the more he eats it up, and that's why he's been a permanent member of our show forever. Great stuff. So you know what, Travis? We talked about Matthew Stafford turning down $100 million to stay with the Rams and not in favor of Las Vegas. Some thoughts on that?
I mean, what's the difference between having a few $1 million and having a few tens of millions of dollars? You're still eating the same steak and lobster casserole, man. Like it's whatever. In this situation, he's going to be able to stay at home, and like that for me, I would be willing to guarantee that that's the biggest benefit for him, more than the money, more than anything else. He's not moving. He's not going anywhere. He's going, and he keeps his community that he already built around him. At the end of all of this, he has a team that is very, very, very young, but also was the closest team to beating the Super Bowl champions. They barely lost by 6 points. Like, where Philadelphia destroyed everyone else. Okay, cool. And they beat the brakes off of Minnesota. Like, so why not run that back on a short-term deal, making a few dollars, keeping everyone around you as far as your circle, your family's happy, your family situation's happy, everything, the offense, all of that. There is a benefit to that. Like, and I've been having this same conversation with all the different coaching searches, because coaches like Ben Johnson have said they wanted to stay in Detroit and everything else. And I always tell people, I'm like, don't look at these guys like coaches. Look at these guys like regular people. In an environment where change is constant, change is necessary, and you could be out of the league in 3 years, you could be fired, whatever else. Sometimes it's beneficial just to have some sense of normalcy and just to be at home and be able to just have family around you and everything else. Like, just looking at that, like, people from looking at it from that vantage point, it made total sense that they were able to kind of find that middle ground and make this deal happen for him, because again, he keeps everything kind of status quo, and maybe kind of run this thing back. So I think it's a great deal for him. Great deal for the team overall.
All right, Steven.
As far as this whole thing goes, I think the initial trade rumors situation, him being able to seek permission for a trade, was just so they can get a gauge of what his overall market value was going to be. I totally agree with the fact that he was never going to go anywhere else. I think Bo made some great points. I think Travis just made some great points as well. Anywhere he was going to go, he was going to be a man running for his life. Why would you go and do that when you have a Cooper Kupp there, you have a Puka Nacua there, you have a good situation. You have the defensive rookie of the year, who was absolutely running around like a madman. And yes, you had us real close. If it wasn't for a bad penalty and a Jalen Carter sack, who knows what could have happened in the last few minutes. Matthew Stafford is something special. He always has been. He finally got out of Detroit, where he was a walking billboard for an injury. Obviously, the year before, the last year or the year before, didn't have a great time physically, but bounced back really well this year. Got them there to the divisional championship game. So run it back. See what you can do. Not put your team in a situation where you have to make them sign you $100 million more, so you can able to put more guys on your team, put more value to keep guys, do this, do that. I think the Rams will be another team that will make it absolutely hell for San Francisco. I do not think they're going to be a playoff team next year. Regardless of Debo doing this, I still think they got the wrong guy at quarterback. I think that the Rams will be the team you have to beat to get through the NFC West.
Well, all I'm going to add to this thing is, number one, Matthew Stafford and Sam Bradford were the reasons why they had a rookie salary cap, because they had no choice but to do it. And number two, Brad Holmes trading for Jared Goff turned out to be a win-win situation. And Joshua Dorr says, welcome to the show, Stephen. Glad to have you there as well. Joshua is one of our avid followers. Thanks for being on tonight. So it was a win-win for the Lions and the Rams. Candy, some real quick thoughts before we wrap it up with station break and these two guys.
Well, let's face it, there have been some trades or some movement that have worked. That Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff trading teams worked. Saquon Barkley going to Philly worked. Josh Jacobs going to Green Bay worked. There is also something to be said about having a family and trying to raise the family. And moving them constantly puts added stress on the rest of the whole family. He has 4 daughters and he has a wife. And let's not forget, she had a serious medical condition back not 5 years ago. So moving is not always necessarily what's best for the family. Money is great, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's not everything. And especially when you're talking about making all this kind of money, how much more do you need to provide for your 4 daughters and for your family?
I want to add one more thing. Go look at all the players that are the best players in the world, regardless of what sport they are. What's the one common denominator? They're all married. They all have family. Family is the most important thing to create a functional environment. As we were all talking about moving around, things that's not a good thing for when you have children and stuff like that. Listen, people underestimate that aspect of it. I tell you right now, that probably played more of a factor into Matthew staying in LA than the money did, than the players did, and the coach, any of that did. It had to do with keeping his family where he wanted them.
Great stuff.
And getting a right value, and that's why they was allowed to test the market, I think. And yes, did he take less money than he probably could have made a lot of other places? So did Brady. Brady restructured his contract how many times because he wanted to stay where he was in the situation that he was in.
Everyone forget Randy Moss didn't come to the Patriots until Brady was like, "How much we have to do to make this happen? I'll readjust." That's what makes those special players even more special, because they know, like, listen, I'll let this guy eat so we can all sit there and have a potential to be one of the greatest X, Y, or Z.
I mean, keep it in your pants. I mean, come on. I mean, Brady had a wife. Brady had basically had a part-time job in his household. Like, Brady's wife made some serious money. Like, that was pocket change. That's all I'm saying. Like, I just want to be clear in saying this, that Brady was definitely a different situation, because most guys in the NFL are the breadwinner in their household, in their family, and in their community. And Brady's wife's just looking at him like, like this is a part-time job. Like, that's all I thought. It was just.
And then she left him for a jiu-jitsu instructor. But
there you go. Yeah. So there's a Giselle Bundchen mention here on this show. Unbelievable. Great stuff. Only with this group. What can I tell you? Great stuff. Stephen and Travis going to give their information in a moment, but Candy's going to a station break.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by Scott, our host, the Motor City Madmouth Morgan Roth. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. Talks about his 40-plus years in the industry. It has a picture a young Scott Morganroth with a young Muhammad Ali. So go get the book so you can see the picture and read all his great stories. Because let's face it, Scott's a great storyteller and it's a great book. Go grab your copy today. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there's a link to our merchandise store and a plethora of great information. And, a couple of pictures here and there, too. Go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Monday nights, we talk baseball. Tuesday nights, we talk football. Wednesday and Thursday nights, you just never know what's on the docket on Sports Exchange and Fire Up. Although Thursday nights of Sports Exchange always has a little bit of NHL in it. So go check those out as well. If you want to advertise, call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest on the show, email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Scott?
Great stuff, Candy. What a show. We had Bo, Steven, and Travis, a dream team. Wait till you meet Steve Ballesteri and Mr. U. I'll tell you one thing. We bring Mr. U on, Steven. I'll be laughing the whole show. Everybody had a good time tonight, right, Travis? Do you think we all had a lot of fun? It was just he's been telling me 5
He's getting his old man yawning.
Yeah.
I'm older, so it's funny.
You're muted, Travis. You're on mute.
I'm up early most days. I'm sorry. Hey, I'm here.
Well, he was lively enough to be on this. So with that said, Travis, let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
Hey, man, you can find me on all the socials. Travis D. Holmes, Blue Sky, X, all of them. Facebook, MySpace, I'm sure it's still up somewhere playing music. Yeah, you can find my writings covering the Jacksonville Jaguars, BigCatCountry.com. I mean, if there's Jaguars news that's out there, if there's press conferences that need to be broken down, we are absolutely there. We got you covered. And we are on the scene, but also the Duval Dive. If you're hearing my voice, please like and subscribe us on the website, man. Help us grow this thing while it's free. But I appreciate you as always, Scott.
Oh, Travis, I appreciate you. Here's the thing, Steven, you're going to find out as you keep coming on these shows. And I've already told you once, and I'll say it one more time. We're a family here. We're here to grow simultaneously. You know about the word collaboration, Steven. In the short time I've had you on, you've done it. Now, this is just only the beginning of what you're up against, my buddy. And when you come on week in and week out, we're going to have new audiences, and we're going to crack them up and entertain like nobody's ever done it. With that said, Steven, it's your turn to give letting everybody know how they get a hold of you.
Basically, you guys see my name. Just if you're on, if Facebook's your particular app of poison, just type in my name, Stephen Rochelle. I'm probably the only one you'll find on there. Same thing with Instagram. It's pretty simple. It should just be my name, and my handle on X should be right down there. It's Steve Sports Talk 1. We're on every Wednesday morning. Myself, former Titans tight end Ben Troop, and our boy JB doing our show called the Fan in the End. And obviously, we're going to be working on a few more programs that we're going to be launching over the next few months. So we're going to be having a lot of fun, continuing to push out the fun content we have, continue hopping on here with you guys every Tuesday nights, and let's see what what more fun and future brings for us.
Well, let's see if you get Ben Troop on here. That'd be really good. Have you talked to him yet about it?
Yeah, I'll talk to him tomorrow. See what's up. I mean, he normally, he actually has a few shows himself. He does a lot of interviewing. For like the younger guys before they get on. He has a show called 84 Questions. He has another show called No Weddings in the Fall. Honestly, I feel Ben should probably be like one of these guys that you see on like FS1s, ESPN, etc. He's got stories. He's an entertaining guy. He's interesting. He told me a funny story. He was doing media day at like one of the Super Bowls, right? And I guess he went over. So the NFL came to him and was like, "Do you want to quit?" He's like, "No." He's like, "So what we'll do is every hour you're here, we're going to give you another, or no, I think he said every 30 minutes you're still here, we're going to give you another $1,000." Wow. So he wound up before the night was over. He didn't realize it. The 2 weeks later, he gets a check in the mail for $660,000. He had no clue. He totally spaced it out. He's like, "Oh, Well, this is what incentive checks look like.
Wow. Well,
So yeah, he's got stories, man. Like, man, he interviewed Nolan Smith before he even made it to Georgia, like when he was still in high school. So like, he's got some cool stories, man. He's still pretty well connected into some things. Like I said, I still feel like he should be one of these people. You know, not like hearing Cam Newton's knucklehead ass sitting there telling us he wouldn't trade his MVP for a Super Bowl. He's sitting there lying to millions of people when we all know what the truth is.
well, now that you've been on this show, now you can give him something more to work with.
Yeah, let's have some fun. You know, we'll try to get Ben on here one of these nights, and you know, get him telling us some stories and stuff like that. I'm really looking forward to the stuff that he does, the stuff that we're going to do together. It should be some fun, my friend.
Yeah, well, we're talking ball tonight, and we have more people involved, but I couldn't be happier with Bo, Travis, and you all meeting each other. Candy got to hang in there with us, and we'll bring Jennifer Matthews on again. Kerry Johnson, hopefully Megan Price at some point. But meanwhile, I want to thank everybody for joining us on this edition of Inside the Pigskin. Thank you very much, Brian Pettit, JD White, Josh Fedor came in, and anybody else that participated. The chat room was what keeps it interesting. Can't thank y'all enough. So meanwhile, on behalf of Stephen Reichel, Travis Owen, Bo Crouch, Candy Ebling, my name is Scott Morgan, North Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to having everybody on as often as they come. But Stephen, you got an A1 here, and you're a Super Bowl champ with your first act, brother. And I'm so glad to have you on our network more than you'll ever know. And we got a lot of great work in front of us, my friend. Okay.
Appreciate it, brother.
All right. So once again, Candy, that's it for tonight. And I know Steve and I will have a few good comments after the show is over so we can plan ahead. But meanwhile, go ahead. That does it for tonight. We'll see you next Tuesday night, same time around 8:15 Eastern time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.